So I was listening to the right-wing radio early on. Rush Limbaugh was interesting to me because he complained about how the liberals were doing everything this way and that way, and he was the one who was pushing to get rid of the law that forced broadcasting companies to have equal time. And when that law was in place when he came in, and then suddenly it was switched, and the Congress got rid of it, which meant he could go on and say anything and not be contradicted. Well, this one time I got into the show. I called in. Not easy to get into his show. He's very popular, and I talked to him about term limits because that was the subject of that show at that time. Now, what Rush Limbaugh does when you call in his show, if you ever notice, he'll go silent if he's got a caller that's kind of got his background in place, somebody knows what he's talking about. And I usually kind of go into things prepared, know what I'm talking about. And I said the reason term limits are not a good idea is because you end up with lobbyists and bureaucrats running the government. They get practiced at it, and the politician that you vote for doesn't get practice. So people who want term limits end up making the candidates that run for office weaker in their job. And you fire them every time something goes wrong, and it's really, they're not in charge. The bureaucrats who run the various departments are in charge. And I made that argument fairly effectively, and at the end, Limbaugh said, well, you know, the conservative way is the only way. And if you're going to save this country, you got to go this conservative way. I said, yeah, the Ronald Reagan way, right? Yeah, of course. Government's the problem, get rid of it. Right, Rush? And Rush says, well, no. Oh, yes, Rush. But thanks for the argument. Thanks for losing. See you. So that was that. And that short conversation, I got in for maybe 7 minutes, which is a long time to be on his show. He doesn't usually back off. He was early on in his career. This is probably, I'm trying to think what year it would have been. This is probably in the late 90s or so. That was Bill Clinton, and he was going on about Bill Clinton's experiences and so forth. And they like to pick on poor Bill, who had these side affairs and things like that, and makes people feel morally whatever. The Monica Lewinsky thing was at the same time. So I'll just tell you another funny story, a little kind of a funny story. I was down at Sears getting my car work done in Sarasota, and this is right in the heat of what Clinton was doing. The details were coming out, and so I'm watching the local television in the Sears sitting area, and watching, I think it was CNN was on, and they were talking about the latest scandal within what did Clinton do next. And so as I'm looking at the details, I'm making comments of what they're talking about, and this guy comes up over my left shoulder, leans down in my face. He's got a mustache, and he almost puts his nose on my face as he bends over my back, from my back. I was sitting in this free chair, and do you know what he used on Monica? I said, I haven't the foggiest. He used a cigar. I says, oh, well, you know, what else did she do for him? Well, you know, he got a blowjob too. I said, ooh, excuse me, you're kind of disgusting. I said, but, you know, you haven't had one lately. Your wife, your girlfriend, or don't you have a wife or a girlfriend? Probably miss that. Probably wish you had. And I'm sorry for you, but, you know, take your cigar and put it somewhere, sir. I'm done talking to you. Thank you very much.